fellow cinema enthusiasts, my name is Christina and welcome to another Let's Get Reels movie review. Today is Classic Movie Thursdays here on my channel, my version of Throwback Thursdays. Today's Classic Movie Thursday review goes to one of 500 movies that were made in 1939 and one of only two movies, Clark Gable and Norma Shearer, made in 1939. It's called Idiot's Delight and it is hilarious. Here is why. The movie starts off with a guy named Harry, played by Clark Gable. He comes home from World War I and he's an entertainer. He has a lot of trouble finding a job after the war. He goes through all these variety shows and he's, just hired for will, whatever he can get, he gets. Finally, a few years later, he gets a job working with a fake psychic. He has this whole routine worked out, and it's part of this traveling variety show. And there backstage is a girl from a troupe. The girl's name is Irene, played by Norma Shearer. And she sees that the woman on stage who is claiming to be a psychic is having a lot of trouble getting herself together. She's not drinking water in her glass, she's drinking gin. And Harry's getting a little mad at her, so Irene tries to help, but this fake psychic kind of, shows her true color. And after that, Irene really wants to work with Harry. She wants to do his act. She figures out the code that they got going on, that Harry and the psychic got going on. And she really likes Harry. She really wants to get in on this act with her, and Harry winds up falling for her too. But at the end of the beginning of this movie, they have to split apart because their troops are going to different cities. But over time, Harry never really forgets Irene. A few years later, Harry has finally established himself a little bit more, and he's traveling throughout Europe with his girl troupe called Les Blondes. And they are in some kind of country, the frontier of one country, going through the mountains on a train, and their train stops literally in the middle of nowhere. And this is due to the frontier being closed. World War II is right around the corner. Everybody's just waiting for the outbreak of this war. Harry is like a typical American. He's like, what's going on? Why are we stopped? I'm an American. I want to go through here. We have to get to Geneva. We have to do this. And they're like, get over yourself, and he goes to a hotel with the girls. At this hotel, a couple of other people come walking in, including this one fabulous Russian lady named Irina with this German scientist or German somebody, I forget what he is, but she's big and showy and loud and has this accent, and Harry cannot shake this woman. As soon as he lays eyes on her, he's like, there is something familiar about this one. Turns out the woman is Irene that he had met in Omaha years and years before, and now she is this fake, phony Russian woman traveling with this very rich German man. That's all I'm gonna give you about Idiot's Delight because there's so much else that goes on. It's so funny. Some scenes are a bit overdramatic, but some are just, I love this movie so much. It's the funny scenes in this, Norma Shearer especially, they're the reasons why I bought Idiot's Delight and why I love this movie so much. Norma Shearer is perfection. She's, to me, a very underrated classic actress, and I think that's because not a lot of people know who she is. And also, she's not one of the, absolute greatest actresses to have ever been around. I will forever say that in every Norma Shearer movie I review. She was not one of the greatest actresses ever, but there was just something so magnetic about her that you couldn't look away. There was something so fascinating about her and her acting, and I love her in this movie so much. It was such a departure for her. I think it was a big departure for her, mostly because her acting was really good, and it usually wasn't. It was usually extremely overdramatic in a bad way. Like Irene in this movie, when she becomes Irina, she was overdramatic in a silly, fake, phony way. But Norma Shearer used to be overdramatic in a really bad acting kind of way. And I love her later movies like Idiot's Delight and The Women and other movies. because like she was just like, oh, I need to act now. My husband, who was head producer at MGM, has kicked the bucket, and I think I need to act better because I have nobody saving my behind. And she was just great. I cannot say that enough about her. She was so great. I absolutely love her in this movie. I loved the one scene where Harry is sitting with Irina in a bar and this cute little British couple, and he's trying to get her to confess to who she really is. He sees right through her, and she kind of knows because she recognizes him. She has to recognize him. And, you know, everything that he says, he's like, oh, you ever been to Omaha? You ever did this and this? And she knows exactly what he's saying, and she plays around that so well. Just, I love everything about Idiot's Delight. It's just so great. And just Norma Shear's comedy was so good. It was so good. I love her so much. This was probably one of my favorite Norma Shear movies, like after The Women and a few of her pre-code movies, but I absolutely adore her. Clark Gable was alright. I'm not a huge fan of his. In one scene, he actually does a dance with Les Blondes, and oh my god, it is so bad. It's so funny to see him dance. He was so awkward. It was just, he was stiff. Oh my god, just like, it's almost embarrassing to watch. You feel so bad for him, but it was really funny, and it kind of just like sets the tone for the story in some ways. There are some serious scenes. Burgess Meredith is in this as a man who I guess worked with like weapons at the time that were of mass destruction, and he's like, I'm a preacher, I'm going around the world to say no to this war and to teach people the evils of weaponry and everything, so take it serious. And you know, some of the seriousness of course was balanced out with the silliness. The ending, I have to say, was very over dramatic. It was like so not in line with the movie, and it was a little typical of, you know, the time. This was actually a pre-World War II movie, and it was talking about the outbreak of a possible another world war. So it was very interesting. They never mentioned, you know, like Germany. Like they did mention it here and there, but pertaining to a German scientist, and the man that Irene was with at the hotel. So Idiot's Delight is very interesting in so many ways because it is a comedy movie with Norma Shear and her acting very silly and Clark Gable dancing. And it's also interesting because, you know, you have this pre-World War II aspect, like, yes, Europe is going to be breaking out into a huge fight. So it's just an all-around very well done movie, very well made, really funny. So much fun to sit through and watch. It doesn't feel like it's almost 2 hours long. It just feels like a good time. You laugh. And I have to give this little bit of trivia from Norma Shear's biography by Gavin Lambert. Very good book. Massively out of print, but you can find it on Amazon like I did. When Gavin Lambert was interviewing Norma Shear for her biography that he was writing on her, he actually got to sit down and watch Idiot's Delight because she had a copy. This was back in the 70s, early 80s, before Norma Shear died. Norma Shear asked Gavin Lambert, she goes, do you know what I was doing in this movie, like where she becomes Irina the Russian? And you know, Gavin Lambert said he had to give it some thought, and then he goes, you're parroting Garbo, you're rather wicked. And she says, yes, you do understand what I was doing. And that was so funny to realize, like, that she was parroting Garbo, I guess from like her movies and maybe like her accent and some of her movements, some of Garbo's movements in her movies, and it just made watching Idiot's Delight that much more fun because you know who Norma Shear was parroting. So that was my review of Idiot's Delight. If you like this review or more of a ramble, of course my reviews are always more rambles. If you like them in any way, please give it a thumbs up. Leave your comments down below if you have seen Idiot's Delight. What do you think about it? What's your favorite scene? What's your favorite line? How much do you love Norma Shear? How much do you just love this movie in general? Or, you know, if you didn't like it, what didn't you like about it? Anything, leave them in the comments there. If you have any suggestions for classic movies that I should watch and review. Also leave those in the comments, and if I pick your movie and I watch it and I review it, I'll give you a shout out. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for our future Let's Get Reels and Classic Movie Thursday reviews, because that is what I like to do here. And as always, keep watching movies and stay absolutely fabulous.